Hey everyone, it's Sam, coming at you here with video number 2. So I don't know at what point someone becomes like a vlogger versus one who vlogs, but might be getting there. So what I want to talk about today is my process and journey figuring out my gender identity, which is definitely not complete yet, but will get us to here anyway. So I wanted to start reading a passage out of a book that I've been reading, Janet Mock's memoir, Redefining Realness. I super love it. Thank you so much, Liz, for recommending it to me. I would highly recommend it to, honestly, just anyone and everyone, but especially anyone who is working through the whole journey of gender right now. When I say I always knew I was a girl with such certainty, I erase all the nuances, the work, the process of self-discovery. I've since sacrificed it in an effort to stand firmly in the murkiness of my shifting self-truths. I grew to be certain about who I was, but that doesn't mean there wasn't a time when I was learning the world, unsure, unstable, wobbly, living somewhere between confusion, discovery, and conviction. The fact that I admit to being uncertain doesn't discount my womanhood, it adds value to it. It's not been smooth sailing for me, figuring all this out. I've had points in my life where I was very sure I was going one way, or very sure I was going another way, or just really very not sure of any way that I was going about anything. But I think that really does add value to where I'm at right now. I feel the most me that I've ever felt in my entire life. I remember, though, the first time that I felt incredibly out of sync with the other kids my age is when you're in elementary school and you have to start using the locker room. And I remember just being very, very uncomfortable with that. When I found out we all had to change in the same room, I just got very panicky. I did not want to do it. I had this sense of dread just every time I had to go into the locker room, and I would actually remove myself and go into the bathroom stall that was in there and change in there because I was so uncomfortable with anyone seeing my body. And that was the first time that I had this sense of, like, some people were a little shy, but they were definitely not as uncomfortable as I was. And that was the first point where I was like, yeah, like, there's something up with me, like, I'm different. I didn't really have words for it at that point, but that was my first clue. So moving on, getting a little bit older, I was supposed to be shopping in the junior section. I hated the junior section. I found any excuse I could not to shop in the junior section. I would even refer to the clothes there as slut clothes because that was a particularly strong term that I think freaked my mother out, and she did not make me shop in there anymore. Also, puberty happens right about that age, which was really rough on me. So when I had to start wearing bras, I was incredibly resistant to it. I was very uncomfortable with the idea of wearing a bra. I just refused to wear them for a while. And I got away with it until my stepdad at the time, not currently my stepdad, but he's not a great human. And he actually sat me down and decided he was going to take matters into his own hands and told me how terrible I looked without one. And that was the first time that I just felt absolutely disgusted with my body. Started wearing bras because I was so absolutely mortified that other people could tell that I had a chest, but I was not happy about it. Just kind of accepted that this was how life was going to have to be from now on. And I remember very distinctly, even I must have only been probably 11, or 10 or 11, but I would look at myself in the mirror, and I was also chubby at the time, and I think I attributed it to my weight more than anything, but I would see my collarbones and would think to myself that from my collarbones up, that's me, and the rest of my body, I can't do anything about it right now, but someday I'll be thin and pretty, and the rest of my body will look like this person. I literally felt like I was collarbones up was actually me, and the rest of me was just trapped inside this shell that was not me. And if that's not a stark description of what dysphoria feels like, from even just, I guess, the brain of a kid, I don't know what is, but that thought stuck very strongly in my head for most of my life, honestly. And so the way that I got past that basically was wearing super baggy, not well-fitting clothing, and that went on until I made some friends who were more popular than me, and they sort of showed me the way. I started doing my makeup, I started wearing more slimming, tight-fitting clothing, and what I learned from that was all the positive attention that I was getting. I really liked that, and for once felt like I was being validated externally by my peers. I would put on these things and look in the mirror, and it was not me. It was definitely not me, but I would dress up and play this part and got such positive feedback from it. This is what you're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to feel. so I kept doing that, and I really, honestly, for all of my teen years, like, I woke up every single day and like constructed this perfect like imposter outfit and wore this mask, and I was not myself for any of my teen years, and it makes me kind of sad, but yeah, it's kind of like what I needed to do at the time, and that's okay. But that carried into college, and honestly, probably my deepest point of being very not myself was my freshman year of college. I was going to parties, I was wearing dresses, I wore like 3.5-inch heels sometimes. There's pictures, actually, we have a picture. So yeah, obviously a far cry from how I look currently. But my second year of college, I started figuring things out. So I'd broken up with my boyfriend at the time and was like, cannot do this again. Had sort of a life crisis that culminated in me coming out as a lesbian. And I was watching YouTube tutorials on how to dress like a lesbian, and got a lot of the stereotypical stuff like, oh, like wears plaid and like builds canoes, and I never learned how to build a canoe, just disclaimer. But I did buy out probably the entire plaid section in Target. But the problematic part of that was I was using coming out as a lesbian to justify my gender exploration, and I would say things like, oh, like look at my straight clothes, or like these clothes from when I was straight, and like laugh about it. And like obviously that's not a thing. Like there are no straight clothes, there are no gay clothes. There are, I mean, let me know, but not that I've seen. But yeah, so when I was finally called out on that, you know, somebody was like, hey, like, am I not a lesbian because I wear a dress? And I was like, you know, like, I'm really sorry. That's totally valid, and the things that I'm saying are obviously not okay. So then I was kind of confronted with having to deal with my gender as a separate part from my sexuality. And I really didn't explore that intensely until later in college, but I remember very distinctly the first time that I wore a tie in public. It was at my friend's rehearsal for her wedding, and if there's a photo that describes gender euphoria, this is definitely the one. I couldn't even wipe the smile off my face that day. I was just so stoked and like felt so good about myself and so like dapper, and much like trying on the tie for the first time and feeling that validation, each thing that I've tried on separate from that I felt that same euphoria and validation has given me another clue as to like what direction I'm heading. So really when I started trying out using they them pronouns, that was something, it just fits like a glove. How validating that is to like hear that when someone's talking about me and just like know like, yeah, like you don't see me as a girl, because I spent all of those years of my life trying so hard to be a girl, to fit into how people saw me, and so now that view of me has shifted along with that, it just like feels really great. That's sort of where I'm at right now, and you know, who's to say, like maybe in 3 years I'll feel differently and I'll be somewhere else, but I think, you know, the way that I feel right now is very indicative of how much more open and confident I am being genderqueer. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Hopefully there'll be another video next week.